Here we are. We have arrived at this is the last week of the regular season, correct?
Unless you count Army Navy.
Well, I mean, I count Army Navy, so that's definitely important to me. But last week of the regular season, the Redshirts are here, Eddie and Tony, as always. We are back with another preview episode, one of the last big ones of the year, and I can't believe it's already coming to the end, to be honest,
It's come fast. And Tony, do you know why today is a special episode?
because it's Thanksgiving Eve.
There's a different reason actually. It is the Red Shirts 100th episode.
Is it really? Holy
Yeah.
crap! I didn't even realize. Look at that. Holy
Yep.
shit. 100 episodes. We've been doing this for 100 episodes. Wow.
Yep. 100
What
episodes. I feel like we've come a long way since the very beginning.
three total years. Well, almost 3 full years, but about 2.5. That I listen. We have definitely come a long way from our very first episode, the interview with Matt Grothy, South
I
Florida
was
legend.
actually listening. I was listening to some of the interviews yesterday. We definitely sounded a lot worse.
Well, yeah, I mean, at that point, we had no clue what the heck we were doing. I mean, we still barely have any clue what we're doing, but we're a
Yeah.
little better than from when we started. Hopefully, hopefully we get to 200. Hopefully, nothing happens to the red shirts in between 100 and 200. But we are here to preview yet another episode. It's basically one big game this week, and then the rest going to be picks. We've got the big game, Ohio State, Michigan. I know our friend Justin is going to be sweating that one out. He's probably as confident as ever, but the Wolverines versus the Buckeyes, one of the most looked upon, one of the most readied games of the year. People look forward to this literally all season. And the ramifications are huge. It's pretty much a playoff spot on the line, you would think, because they're probably going to win the Big Ten. So there's a lot to account for in this game. It's probably the most meaningful game we've had to date in this season in terms of what's going to happen. So I'm curious to see what you have to say.
For Michigan, Ohio State, I think Michigan covers this game. I think Ohio State will win. We've seen Ohio State's defense be very susceptible to giving up a lot of points. Maryland's offense had a great game against them. They struggled against Northwestern, who was a terrible offense. I think Michigan can do a good job to keep this game close. Um, and if they can contain CJ Stroud, obviously they have a chance, but they still have to prove they can score. This is a pretty strong Ohio State pass rush. Michigan doesn't typically excel in the pass game. So we'll see if they can establish the run early and then move the ball from there. But I'm definitely going to be tuned in. Definitely looking forward to see the atmosphere. I mean, it's the biggest game of the year by far.
The biggest game of the year, you have Michigan knocked off Ohio State last year for the first time in a long time. So the revenge spot is definitely on a lot of those players' minds, including CJ Stroud. From what I've seen this year out of the two teams, I think the obvious answer is that Ohio State is the better team. The odds will dictate that, obviously. But I think that Michigan has the play style to be able to limit Ohio State. They have to be able to run the ball well. Corum has to have his best game of the year, probably. I know he's been in the Heisman talks all season. He's been one of the best running backs in the country, but he has to have a great game. They have to try and keep Stroud off the field because the defense is going to get stops. They're not. Ohio State's not going to score every time down the field. Michigan's defense is good enough to get some stops. It's just a matter of when they get that ball back on offense, can they do something with it? Can they keep CJ Stroud off the field? Can they put together long drives? I'm curious to see how that game starts. I think the first few drives are going to be what dictates what happens in that game, but it's definitely by far the biggest game of the week.
Yeah, and I'm glad it's early. Definitely want to be watching that one. Um, yeah, I mean it's could be the biggest rivalry in all of sports.
Um, Off the top of my head, the only one that comes to mind, at least in college, I would say is UNC Duke basketball.
Yeah, UNC Duke basketball
I think it's
is
definitely the biggest in football without question.
yeah,
In college football at least.
yeah,
But
definitely.
yeah, I mean, no, definitely one of the most important rivalries in the history of the game. But I'm curious to see how that comes out. We still have a few games before that, so we'll start with we got the Egg Bowl, Thanksgiving night. I'm sure some of you will be listening to this tomorrow morning, or even later tonight. Who knows? But Thanksgiving night, we get the Egg Bowl in a Thanksgiving tradition. Probably Lane Kiffin's last regular season game with Ole Miss. From what we're hearing, he's denying it, but I still think he's gone. Does Ole Miss? Well, I don't know who won this last year, to be honest. But does Ole Miss bring home a big win after a terrible loss last week against Arkansas?
Last year was Mississippi, Ole Miss 31-21. But
Okay, there
I
you go.
think Ole Miss wins this one. I think Lane Kiffin is going to have something to prove to everyone, saying he's leaving. He wants to stay dedicated to this team. They had a pretty good season. I think they're just a better team overall than Mississippi State. I know Mike Leach has a very explosive offense that can score, but Mississippi has proved to have a pretty good defense. Jackson Dart has shown some pretty good signs, and they can run the ball very well. Your boy Zach Evans at running back. So I'm like Ole Miss here. I think they cover.
I'm sure Zach Evans wishes he was back in Fort Worth after the season, but
Yeah.
that's his own fault. We've got Friday. We've got a few rivalry games. We got a big one at 7:30 tonight, but we've got some afternoon games. You got Tulane, Cincinnati. Winner of that game controls their own destiny, gets to the American Conference Championship. The loser, I believe, needs some help from what I was reading, but the winner gets a spot in the American Championship. So that's going to be a fun one on Friday afternoon.
Yeah,
we got
I
Baylor,
was reading.
Texas. Yeah,
I was reading the AAC the championship scenario is a little bit convoluted. The UCF lost last week kind of threw things off. So the winner's in, and then it's a ton of crazy stuff.
Yeah, UCF, Houston are tied. So the loser of this game is going to be 6-2 in the conference, and then you would assume. Let's see who UCF plays. UCF plays South Florida. Houston plays Tulsa. So off of that, you would assume Houston and UCF win. So there's probably going to be a three-way tie between UCF, Houston, and whoever the loser is. And right now, UCF's ahead of Houston, so I don't know who's going to be ahead of who in that other scenario. That's going to be a little fun. But Tulane, Cincinnati, that should be a very fun game. I think I lean Cincinnati.
Yeah, me too. Well, their quarterback is still questionable, but if he plays,
Brian, I mean, honestly, I haven't been high on him all year anyway. So, like, if the backup to me, he could be better for all I know. But Brian, he's worried me at times. We got NC State, North Carolina, 3:30. UCLA, Cal at 4:30. Big one at night. Florida State, 7:30. Big year for Florida State. Again with 9 wins. Definitely an impressive season after they started the year off well with a win against LSU and Brian Kelly, but now here they are, ranked 16th and playing Florida at home.
Yeah, they've looked great. Their offense has been very good. Jordan Travis.
They run the ball. They run the ball really well.
Yeah, he's been great at quarterback. Yeah, and this is closed out against Florida. It's a great season for Florida State. I think next year, especially, they're going to have a good recruiting class coming in. I think they can be very impactful in the ACC.
I think they could definitely make some noise in the ACC. If they have a lot of guys coming back too. I'm not sure if Travis is coming back. I would assume
he should be.
But
yeah,
they definitely can make some noise with Mike Norvell. I know you're a big Mike Norvell guy.
Yeah,
that's good for you.
Love Mike Norvell.
On to Saturday, we got Georgia Tech, Georgia at noon. That should just be an absolute stomping. I don't even want to pay attention to that whatsoever. We talked about Michigan, Ohio State, South Carolina, Clemson. They didn't rank South Carolina like I predicted, so they did not help Clemson out in that favor. But Clemson, still a rivalry game. They should be able to handle them, hopefully, and then they would be them UNC in the ACC title game. But from the rankings, from what came out, I want to talk about this. It seems that Clemson's kind of dead. The having Alabama ahead of them, I think that kind of seals their fate. I don't agree with it at all because I think Alabama's more dead than they are. But it seems like when them putting Alabama ahead of Clemson kind of means that everybody after USC is kind of out of it.
Well, Bama already is guaranteed to not be playing in the SEC title game, so
that's my point.
Clemson
so
has another game.
That's why I would have figured Clemson would have just been ahead of them to begin with. But I guess I might be seeing things wrong. I don't know.
And I also hate that, like last week, Clemson played whoever it was. They played Miami, whatever. Bad team, but still an ACC team. Last week, Alabama played Austin Peay.
Yeah, like that Austin Peay win, like that mattered so much. It just none of it makes any sense to me.
And I don't think they covered.
It was like 34-0 or something like that. I'm sure the spread was bigger than 34, to be honest.
Yeah.
We got Louisville, Kentucky. That's a solid one. Kentucky, a very rough year after high expectations coming in. They're a favorite at home. We got the Iron Bowl, which you texted me a hot take before, so I'm gonna let you grab the mic for this game. I don't know if you have playing it, so if you do, we'll talk about that a little later.
I actually think Auburn can win this game, and it's not just because I need a 6th Auburn win to push my win total. This is how I break it down. Auburn has been playing great under Cadillac Williams. 2 straight wins. They're fired up. They're 1 win away from a bowl game. You got to figure the kids at that school are pulling for Cadillac to be the coach. He wants to be the coach. This could be his last game ever as coach of Auburn. He's going to pull out all the stops. He's going to have them fired up. He already has said he's going to go into his bag of tricks from the place he used to run back in the day at Auburn. They're fighting for a bowl. And Bama's season, it's like, yeah, they're Bama. They're Nick Saban is coaching, but what are they really playing for at this point? They can't make the title game. They're not going to make the playoff. Like
They're playing for
how motivated are they going to come into this game?
they're playing for a spot in the Sugar Bowl against Notre Dame.
Right, they're playing for a spot in the Sugar Bowl. How motivated are they going to be? Auburn has one of the worst offenses I've seen this year, but they've been playing better under Cadillac Williams. If there was ever a time that a team was going to catch Bama sleeping, it's going to be in the Iron Bowl. It's a good
In
Auburn
Bryant Denny
defense.
Stadium.
I think they could do it. I'm feeling crazy.
That is crazy because they're plus 22-point underdogs. So that listen,
I know.
if anybody's feeling ballsy out there, Auburn money line, Eddie's kind of shouting it out for you. So we'll see how that one goes. I don't know. I kind of think Bama has still like. I know that the season's kind of lost for them, but you know how Nick Saban is. He's a nut job. He's gonna want to prove something. I think he's gonna want to prove how good they are. And I think they might end up kicking the crap out of them. But I mean, we'll see. I see all the points you're making. I think they do play for Cadillac Williams well. They seem to get up for him. So it'll be a fun game. I wouldn't be surprised if it's close for a little bit and then Alabama pulled away, but we'll see how that goes. We have the rivalry formerly known as the Civil War. We're technically not allowed to call it that anymore. Oregon State, Oregon at 3:30, a big one in the Pac-12.
Yeah, I expect this game to be at night, so 3:30 I'm a little thrown off by.
Basically
that's
noon there.
That's noon there, yeah, which is a little strange for that game. It's usually at night. But yeah, Oregon State. I think this is a good spot for Oregon State. Oregon's coming off a very hard-fought victory against Utah, kind of in a sandwich spot against the Pac-12 title game. They're in a must-win situation. Oregon State would love nothing more than to spoil that. So 3.5 at home for a team that's been playing very well, has been passing the ball very well. I think it's a good spot for Oregon State.
It definitely a good spot for Oregon State after that big Oregon, obviously coming off that big win against Utah. We don't know how healthy Bo Nix is. I'm sure they don't want to risk him too much with that Pac-12 title game still on the horizon, so they might be a little careful in this game. We'll see. But I am rooting for my Ducks as always. You know, I'm a Ducks guy in the Pac-12. Moving on, honestly, and it's time to talk about your Fighting Irish. We got them at 7:30 against USC. Sneakily, I think this is going to be the most entertaining game of the day over Ohio State, Michigan.
I think it has a great chance to be. You have Caleb Williams, who could be the best quarterback in the country the way he's been playing. He's looked
Absolutely
amazing against UCLA, against a Notre Dame defense that has been playing much better as the season has gone on. They shut down Clemson. I'm interested to watch the way we match up with Jordan Addison, who is probably one of the most talented receivers in college football. It's not a very strong USC defense, and I think that plays very well into Notre Dame's favor because we know Drew Pine cannot do a lot with the ball. Tommy Rees is gonna be able to find some motion. I think get Michael Mayer the ball, get his running backs the ball. This is the number I texted Ryan before the week started that I predicted it would be 5. So I think it's pretty on par with what I expect it to be. I think Notre Dame wins. I think they win, especially with
you think they put an end to USC's dream season?
Yes, especially because USC might be a little lazy. They know they're in the Pac-12 title game. Again, off that big win against UCLA, huge hard-fought game. Letdown spot here against a team that's better than the team they played last week, and then Pac-12 title game on the horizon, and they're already locked into that. So where they're ranked right now, they might be thinking, we really need to win out. It's a high-pressure situation. All the pressure's on USC. Notre Dame really has nothing to lose here. Notre Dame wins, right there in the top 10. If not, we already knew it was a lackluster season for them. So great spot for the Irish.
Now, let me ask you something. So you have USC losing. In theory, everybody else, hold on here. In theory, Georgia wins. Let's say Ohio State beats Michigan. TCU wins. LSU wins. Alabama wins. Clemson wins. What's the top 4 going into conference championship week?
Who's fifth
Does
right now?
LSU get moved up? Does LSU get moved up to 4th for the title game?
I mean, I guess so. I don't know how far do you want to drop down and lose with the Big Ten games, because if it's close,
well, you have to drop them out of the top 4. You
yeah,
can't.
you
You're
got
going
to
to
top
leave.
4.
So that's what I'm saying. So somebody has to jump in.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I guess it will be LSU.
And now does Clemson jump Alabama, USC, and the loser of that game?
hard to say. I want
I
to
think they
say,
should. I think they
yeah,
should, but it's
they
hard to
probably
say they're
should.
gonna because I just the Alabama being ahead of them this week just makes zero sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah. So yeah, so now I'm really seeing USC. USC wins this game, they're in the top four.
They're in the top four going into the Pac-12 title game.
Yeah.
The problem, well, I mean, I don't know because they're still behind LSU. That's been my point all along.
But this win, LSU's playing A&M, USC's playing ranked Notre Dame. USC should jump.
No, I understand. I understand that, but if they have USC as a favorite against Notre Dame, they're already assuming they're going to win that game, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying they kind of already assume. I feel like they already assume for this kind of thing, and they still have LSU ahead of them.
No, I think that's why that LSU is ahead because they don't assume.
Yeah, if they're, I mean, in
They
theory, if they're a favorite, there you have to assume that they're going to beat Notre Dame. Just that's just the biggest assumption.
but no, but I think as the records stand right now, LSU has the more impressive resume. So I think once that changes this week, the jump will take place.
I don't know. I agree. I think I agree the jump should take place. I just feel like it would have happened already if they. I think they have this weird love for LSU this year after that win against Tennessee, and I think they're just waiting for the opportunity for them to beat Georgia to to really force chaos.
Win against Bama.
That yeah, against Bama. I'm sorry, they lost Tennessee. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I just I feel like that they wouldn't be ahead of USC if this sick twisted thought wasn't already in their mind. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and also the Pac-12 title game has a lot of scenarios that could change up. If Oregon loses, it gets a little crazy because Washington can get in and Utah can still get in. I think Washington also needs like Cal to beat UCLA or something like that, and
Yeah,
Utah
so
needs
well,
something
yeah,
else.
Washington needed some help. But wait, didn't Washington beat UCLA though? So don't they have that advantage over them? I could be wrong. No, they lost. Yeah,
Um,
they lost to UCLA. I'm sorry. So they would need. Well, UCLA already has three losses.
but three Pac-12 losses.
Yeah, UCLA is out of it. Yeah, it's pretty much between Washington and Utah can sneak in because they have two conference losses. Oregon, USC both have one, so that really Oregon wins, they're in. Oregon loses, that's where the chaos kind of
I'll tell you
unfolds.
right now. Oregon is in with a win over Oregon State or a Washington loss. Washington is in with a win over Washington State plus an Oregon loss plus either Cal beats UCLA or Colorado beats Utah. Utah is in with a win over Colorado plus an Oregon loss plus a Washington win plus a UCLA win. So I think
Making my head
Utah
spin.
probably has. Yeah, I know that's a lot. But the easy way to understand this is Oregon controls their own destiny. Washington and Utah have a lot of pluses that go on with their scenarios. So a lot needs to happen for Washington and Utah to get in.
Yeah, so expect some sort of chaos with the Pac-12 on Saturday. I would not be surprised if they all lost in some way, shape, or form because that's just what they normally end up doing to themselves. That's pretty much it in terms of the big games for Saturday. So we might as well roll on into the picks. Let me get an update on records. We've got me 31 and 20, 7 and 6 play of the week. You are 22 and 28 and 1, 3, 9 and 1 play of the week. There's no coming back from the play of the week at this point. So
Yeah.
you just have to sweep the board.
I'm gonna go for all the reasons I mentioned earlier. I'm not taking money line on my official plays. I'm gonna sprinkle. I'm just telling you right people
Okay.
right now. I'm going to sprinkle Auburn
Okay.
plus 22. All the reasons I said. I think it's a
Auburn.
great spot. They're gonna play some inspired ball for Cadillac Williams. Could be his last game as a coach. He's gonna pull out all the stops against Bama. He's an Auburn alumni. He wants to beat Bama as bad as these kids do. And I question Bama's motivation. Bryce Young's playing a little hurt. He's got the NFL on the horizon. How much is he going to be willing to lay out? And he might not need to lay out a lot on the line for his body to win this game. They could roll. We know how bad this Auburn offense is, but I think this defense comes out strong, keeps the game close, puts a little pressure on Bama, and then anything could happen in the second half. So I'm going to go take the over 3 touchdown spread here, plus 22.
That's a big spread. I worry about it. That is a big spread, but you know what? I like your confidence. I did love Cadillac Williams as a child, so maybe I'll hop on that with you. As for me, I will be on Cincinnati money line on Friday afternoon, noon. First game of the Friday slate. Senior day at home for the Cincinnati Bearcats. These teams are about as even as it gets statistically. There's just a few key factors that favor Cincinnati. They have a better red zone defense. They have the experience in big games. They are fighting for a spot in the conference title game. Obviously, both teams that have that motivation, but I think Cincinnati comes out on top again. Senior day at home. I think they come out ready to go. I think Brian makes some big plays if he is healthy. I think the defense is just better. I'm riding with Luke Fickle and the Bearcats on Friday afternoon to get a spot in the American title game.
Yeah, I think I like that. I love Tulane this year, but I think that's the right side in that game
I
is
just I just worry they
probably
haven't really had the
Cincinnati.
big game. They haven't really had the big game with Willie Taggart. This is kind of their first big season after being 2-10 last year. So again, good year, but I think they kind of fall flat of this conference title game.
So I'm going to stick to my theme here of liking the dogs, and I'm going to take. I might regret this, but I'm going to take Michigan plus 7.5
Michigan.
against
Oh
Ohio
my
State. Yeah. Uh,
goodness.
like I said, this Ohio State has a very good run defense. They can very well stop Blake Corum, but this is the biggest game of the year. Michigan's going to come to play with that defense. We've seen Ohio State's offense get slowed down a little bit by two lackluster teams. Let's go with the Wolverines here over a touchdown.
You're feeling froggy on Saturday with these underdogs, but listen,
Yeah.
I'm praying for you. I've got another Friday afternoon game. I think this is the last one for me. I think I went two Friday, two Saturday, but I've got another Friday afternoon game. North Carolina against North Carolina State. I'm riding with the Tar Heels -6.5. I think it's a big bounce back spot. North Carolina State has struggled immensely against the winning teams on the road this year. I think they're 0-4 against the spread. 1-7 against the spread in their last 8 conference games. Huge game for UNC before Clemson. They definitely want to get the ball back rolling after a tough game against Georgia Tech last week. I think Drake May, the Heisman candidate, bounces back with a big win. I think they bounce NC State all over the place. Love the Tar Heels this week, big -6.5.
Yeah, I like them too. The NC State offense is so terrible.
They're brutal. Without Leary, that team is just they are completely out of touch. So I love the Tar Heels this week. I think it's a good one.
The next play will be the Air Force Academy money line. This is one of the top rush offenses in the country. You have San Diego State, who overall I think is a pretty bad team. I think they're getting a little overvalued by some recent wins. They beat San Jose State pretty badly, and then New Mexico pretty badly too. Covered both spreads, so I think they're being a little overvalued here, especially be a little bit higher. I think so. I'm going to go Air Force.
Took the words right out of my mouth. I also have Air Force money line on Saturday. Air Force has the slowest pace in the NCAA, so I think they'd be able to keep the ball away from San Diego State. That's definitely important when it comes to triple option. They've ran a triple option as effective as anybody this year. SDSU is very run heavy, and that's kind of the only thing they do well. Air Force stops the run, and if they have a weakness, it is the pass defense. But San Diego State is not that explosive when it comes to pass plays, so I don't expect them to be able to pass the ball that well. We're riding with the Falcons. We love our service academies, and I'm going to get a service academy bet in before the Army Navy game. So let's go with Air Force money line on Saturday.
All right, there we go. Little togetherness in the season of giving. All right, my
All
play of
right,
the week. I
let's
think you
go.
might know
What do
what
you
I'm
got?
going with this year. I'm going with the Fighting Irish, of course.
I thought you were going to say Iowa State.
No. I can't fade TCU every week. Fighting
Notre Dame. Now,
Irish.
you're doing spread?
Now let's do the money line.
Money line. All right. Go
Notre
ahead.
Dame money line.
Take it away.
USC's in a huge letdown spot. They're looking ahead to the Pac-12 title game. All the pressure's on USC. Notre Dame has been playing their best football of the season lately. We killed Clemson. We killed UNC a few weeks back too. People forget that. And last week, drubbed Boston College, shut them out. Notre Dame will win this game in the Coliseum.
In the Coliseum. That is a bold prediction, to say the least.
Michael Mayer, 2 touchdowns.
Michael Mayer, 2 touchdown prop. All right, you heard it first. Eddie's play of the week. Notre Dame money line. He's been so bad on play of the weeks, so USC might win by 20, but we'll see what happens. As for me, I think I found a rat line this week.
I love rat lines.
Kentucky -2.5. All year, I think, in terms of the eye test, I think Louisville has been better than Kentucky, right? You would think.
Yeah, but I think that Kentucky defense might match up very well with Louisville.
which is why I think that this -2.5 line is a gift. I think the SEC, we know how much more physical they are than the ACC. Louisville, their offensive line struggles against good defensive lines, which Kentucky has. I think you're going to see a bounce back game from Will Levis. Kentucky had extremely high expectations coming into the season. They're only sitting at 6-5. They definitely want to get that 7th win to end the season off. Will Levis probably going to the draft. He's not going to want to end that regular season with a home loss against a rival in Louisville. So I love the Wildcats this week. I think they come out big. I think they come out and play one of their best games of the season. Love Malik Cunningham, friend of the podcast, but I'm going to ride with the Wildcats. I think Will Levis gets it done. And that is my SEC play of the week.
I like that actually. Louisville's had a good season, but I think Kentucky's
They've
defense
had a
matches up
very
well
good
with
season.
them.
They had a big win last week. They just got into the rankings, and you know how I feel about new teams in the rankings. I feel like always they either come out slow or they just always end up losing. Just right when they pop into the rankings, they kind of just pop themselves out. So I love Kentucky this week. Definitely my play of the week going into Thanksgiving weekend. But I mean, that's it for the last regular season week of the year. That's our last regular season preview. The next time we see you guys, we'll be recapping.
And giving our conference championship.
Yep, we've got December 3rd. That's next Saturday, right? December 3rd. We've got. It looks like the Big 12 title game is gonna be the first one of the day at noon. SEC is in the middle of the day. ACC is at night, and then Army Navy's December 10th. We only have times for 3 of the conference championship games so far. We're still waiting on times for the rest of the week.
Yeah, and we don't have a schedule. We don't have a team yet, so they probably didn't post the Pac-12 yet.
The SEC is set. Yeah, the SEC is set. The ACC is set, and then the Big 12 is set for half of it. So we've got right now Georgia LSU. The line is actually sitting at -15. I'm seeing on ESPN.
Yeah,
and Clemson is a 7.5. Clemson's a 7.5 point favorite against North Carolina. That is actually an interesting game because there might be a lot of North Carolina fans there. It's at Charlotte. It's at Bank of America Stadium.
Yeah. Yeah, I worry about that UNC defense. And Drake May's been playing well that
if there's a game that Ungalele is going to have a good game for, it's probably that game.
Yeah.
But that's definitely going to be a fun one. But we'll talk about that later down the line. We're going to let you guys go and get ready for Thanksgiving Eve, Thanksgiving weekend. Any parting words for the
have a
lovers
great
out there?
time at Thanksgiving Eve tonight. Oh, they're not going to hear us on Thanksgiving Eve. Okay, have a great Thanksgiving. If you have chicken cutlets, let us know. We're curious. I'm polling the people. Who has chicken cutlets on Thanksgiving?
If you have chicken cutlets, let us know because I think Eddie's family is the only family that we've come across that actually does have chicken cutlets. If you hate Thanksgiving as much as I do, reach out to us as well because I want someone to, bond with and explain why turkey fucking sucks so much. So, with that being said, everybody have a great Thanksgiving. The Redshirts will be back on Monday as always with their recap. And as always, have a good one.